I was sorting a grocery list on my phone when my brother named a number so large I almost laughed. It came out as a choke instead. $55,000. For a wedding. No more. No less. He said it like he was reading the weather. We were at my dining table. Coffee rings. A vase of tulips, leaning left. Ordinary Sunday light. Across from me, Mason sat with his arms crossed and a grin that didn't reach his eyes. He's 10 years younger than me, 24, and somehow always 5 years behind. Next to him, his fiancée Tessa watched me over the rim of a wine glass. She looked older than him, closer to my age, calm, polished, like a woman who'd already decided the ending. "Don't look so shocked," Nora Mason said. "We did the math. Flowers catering venue deposit." Tessa handled the quotes. "We're not asking for extra. Just what's fair." "Fair," Tessa echoed. "We're family, right?" "Family." The word slid across the table like a bill. "My name is Nora Hale." I told myself silently, the way I do when I need to stay steady. I'm 34. I manage operations at my husband's small law firm. We live on the Oregon coast with our 7-year-old Zoe. 6 months ago, my mother Celeste died. I was named trustee. The house where we grew up is in my care. It's empty for now, waiting for the end of our lease. "And you think the wedding should come out of Mom's house?" I said. Mason shrugged. "You got the house. I get my share. That's how this works." "I'll help with 10, I said. "That's what I can do." Tenhe laughed. "You think that moves anything?" "It moves the part I'm responsible for," I said. My voice stayed even. Inside, something colder settled into place. I had been the one who mixed his formula at 2 in the morning. The one who taped his school projects when he cried. The one who learned to braid hair and tie soccer cleats and sign permission slips when our mother was working a double. I wasn't just his sister. I had been a small, exhausted parent. Tessa tilted her head. "No one's living in that house. Isn't it wasteful? You could liquidate and split?" "Simple. Mom wrote a will," I said. "She wanted it handled this way. You both read it. You both signed off." "She was sick," Mason said, quick as a match. "How do we know she was thinking straight?" And there it was. A sentence that didn't sound like my brother. It sounded rehearsed. I could almost see the script in the air between them. I didn't argue. I stood, carried our coffee cups to the sink, rinsed them until the squeak of porcelain calmed me, and came back to the table. 10, I said again. "That's my number." His jaw flexed. Then, out of nowhere, his tone turned bright. "Anyway, your birthday's next week. We booked a nice place." Tessa found it. "Private room. We can talk like adults and celebrate you." "Can Julian come?" I asked. A tiny flicker crossed Tessa's face. "Of course," she said. "We're family." After they left, I wiped the table in slow circles. Julian came in from the kitchen, a wooden spoon in his hand and flour on his sleeve. "How bad?" he asked. "They want 55, I said. "For a party?" He blinked once, then set the spoon down. "Okay, we'll plan for the real problem then." "What's the real problem?" I asked, though I knew. "Someone is hoping you'll sign something you can't unsign." Zoe patted in with a workbook. "Mom, can you check my fractions? After I wash my hands." I kissed the top of her head. Her hair smelled like apples. Innocent. Anchoring. That night, while Zoe slept and the house got quiet, I opened the file box labeled Celeste. I read the will again. Clear, witnessed, dated. I ran a hand over the deed. The paper felt like bone. On top of the stack, I kept a note Mom had left me in her old, elegant script, "Trust yourself." You always know when something isn't right. Another memory rose up then. A month before Mom died, Mr. Rios, the neighbor who fixes everything with duct tape and kindness, had called me. A woman was asking around, he'd said. Tall, dark hair, pretty coat. She asked if your mom ever got confused, kept saying she wanted to help, felt off. I had brushed it aside as nosy concern. Tonight, the memory burned. Tessa's pretty coat? The restaurant turned out to be a long room with glass walls and a partition of woven wood that split it into two. Julian and I were led to a semi-private corner. On the other side of the divider, 3 people in suits sat with no food, only folders. The air smelled like lemon and new leather. "Happy birthday!" Mason said, standing to hug me as if nothing in the world had ever gone wrong. Tessa's smile looked camera-ready. "Beautiful place, isn't it?" she said. "We thought you'd like the quiet." We ordered. We tried to chat. Mason couldn't stop bouncing his leg. Tessa kept checking her phone under the table like she was timing a landing. Before the cake, Mason said, "At last we should revisit the inheritance." There it was, the real reason we were here. "You got the house," he said. "I'm stuck with the leftovers. That's not equal." "Tessa," I said, turning to her, "how do you imagine equal looks?" "Transparent," she said smoothly. "Efficient. A new trust where both siblings have a voice. We can relieve your burden while honoring Celeste's wishes." She said my mother's name like she owned it. She slid an envelope toward me. Creamy paper. Heavy. Expensive. "It's a simple delegation," she said. "You stay beneficiary. Mason becomes trustee. I assist just to keep things organized." Julian's hand found my knee under the table. A small squeeze. I breathed. "You're asking me to give up control of every asset," I said. "In a restaurant. On my birthday." "We're trying to keep things civil," Tessa said. "Court is messy. Family can do better." "Family can," I said. "People who want my signature, not so much." Mason's eyes flashed. "You always have to make everything hard." On the other side of the divider, a chair scraped. One of the suits stood, then another. They gathered their folders and drifted toward us with practiced smiles. "These are just friends," Mason said too fast. "Advisors." "Lawyers," Julian said quietly. He didn't stand. He didn't raise his voice. He simply watched them approach like a tide he'd already timed. My pulse kicked. I have a tell when I'm scared I count. 1 lemon wedge on my plate. 2 candles reflected in the wine glass. 3 people in tailored jackets. 4 signatures probably waiting in that envelope. 5 ways this could go wrong if I didn't keep my head. "Ms. Hale," the oldest suit said, extending a card. "We can help streamline." "Stop," Julian said. Everyone looked at him. He pulled a small device from his inner pocket and set it by the bread basket. A red light glowed. The sound of the room changed for me. Closer, sharper. My husband's voice stayed calm. "Nora, before we go any further, I need to be clear about something." Tessa's fingers tightened around her glass. Mason went still. The 3 suits hovered uncertain, which told me they were not here to celebrate me. They were here to see if I broke. I didn't. "I'm not signing tonight," I said. "And I won't be bullied into pretending this is a celebration." Tessa gave a soft laugh that didn't match her eyes. "No one is bullying you. We're offering structure. You've been so stressed. Let us carry it." "You don't want to carry it," I said. "You want to control it." Silence pressed on the table. The suits shifted again. My birthday candle sputtered and died without anyone noticing. Here's the part I hadn't told them 2 days after Mom's funeral. After Mr. Rios's warning, I'd asked one of Julian's colleagues to make a few discreet calls. Nothing invasive. Just enough to see whether the pretty coat had been seen anywhere near my mother's bank or doctor. What came back wasn't a smoking gun. It was ash on the wind. A teller remembered a woman with questions about capacity. A nurse remembered a stranger asking whether Celeste ever missed pills. Little things. Breadcrumbs. They didn't prove anything. They told me where to look. I looked at Tessa now and felt that same cold clarity lock in. The person across from me was not a young woman in love planning a day. She was a plan-wearing lipstick. Julian tapped the recorder with one finger. "Nora," he said, eyes still on the 3 suits. "You remember? The office is 3 minutes from here, right?" "I do," I said. "Good," he said. "Because if we're going to discuss trusts, delegations, and control of estate assets, we'll do it in a formal setting. With documents we choose. With time to read every line." His tone was gentle. Final. Mason swallowed. "Is that necessary?" "It is," I said. Tessa's smile thinned. "Then let's continue at your office," she said. Almost breezy. But I saw her glance at the envelope. I saw her thumb stroke the edge like it was a blade. As we stood, Zoe's glittery birthday card fell out of my purse and fluttered under the table. I picked it up and felt ridiculous for noticing the smudge of purple crayon on the corner. A tiny life. A real one. The reason to choose carefully. We walked out together. The suits followed. The lemon smell trailed us to the door. Outside, the sky was that strange Pacific blue that makes you think anything can be washed clean. I knew better. What I didn't know yet was how far Tessa had already gone, or how far I would have to go to stop her. Julian's office sat 3 blocks from the restaurant above a plant shop that always smelled like damp basil. We walked there in a tight line. Mason first, Tessa next, a step behind and half a smile ahead. The 3 suits fanned out, pretending this was normal. I stayed beside Julian and counted my breath. In through my nose, out through the new facts I would put on the table. Inside, the reception area hummed with the soft ocean sound we use to calm clients. The lights were warm. The carpet was steady. I felt my ribs loosen by a notch. Julian led us into the conference room and closed the door. He didn't lock it. He never does. No one stays where they don't want to be, he says. It's a rule. It also keeps people honest. He set the recorder in the center. Red light on. He placed a yellow pad to his right. Then he slid a tray of water glasses forward as if we were discussing a lease renewal, not my mother's life. Ground rules, he said. No signatures tonight. No surprises disguised as favors. Everyone uses plain language. If you need a lawyer, say so. Tessa laughed lightly. I have one. 3, I said, glancing at the suits. They avoided my eyes. The oldest one put a folder on the table and smoothed the cover with his palm. We're not here to represent anyone, he said carefully. Merely to observe and answer questions. So not counsel, Julian said. Not counsel, he echoed, relieved. Which told me everything. Mason looked lost. He tugged his shirt cuff like a child worrying a thread. Can we just talk about the house, he asked. I don't want drama. You brought it, I said. I kept my voice even. You made my birthday a contract meeting. Tessa shot him a look that meant, shut up. Then she turned back to us with that cool, assuring voice she had practiced in a mirror. Nora, everyone is trying to make this easier on you. Managing an estate is complicated. Let us help. You'll still benefit. From something I no longer control, I said. It's a delegation, she said, not a transfer. Let's test that, Julian said, pulling the envelope toward him. He read the first page, then the second. His expression didn't move. Tessa, where did you get this template? From a colleague, she said. He does trusts for families all the time, named Julian asked. Her smile held. I don't see how that's relevant. It will be, he said softly, and kept reading. He tapped a paragraph with his pen. This clause gives your fiancé authority to encumber and liquidate assets without additional consent. That's not a delegation. That's control. This clause names you as co-trustee on a trust that benefits you indirectly through your partner. That's a built-in conflict. It reduces friction, she said. It erases boundaries, he answered. No one breathed for a beat. I slid my own file forward. A tab labeled Neighbors. Another labeled Bank. A third labeled Guardianship. My handwriting looked like it belonged to someone calmer than me. Mr. Rios called me a month before Mom died, I said. A woman asked if Celeste was getting forgetful, if she ever left the stove on. He thought it was odd. I thought it was concern. I was wrong. I opened the Neighbors tab. 2 more people were approached. Same questions. Mrs. Flynn next door? The mail carrier who chats with everyone. They all said the woman was charming, very helpful, pretty coat. Tessa's jaw flexed, a tiny movement. If I hadn't been looking, I would have missed it. I opened the second tab. A teller at Harbor Bank remembers someone asking how to add an assistant to an elderly client's account. She didn't give details. She did remember the perfume. Peony and cashmere, she said. I didn't say what the teller said next because I still didn't know how to carry it without shaking. She was so sure of the words, like she'd asked them before. Mason rubbed his eyes. Why are we talking about perfume? Because patterns leave trails, I said. You follow the scent. Julian set down the papers and lifted his gaze to Tessa. Have you ever filed for guardianship over an adult? Her blink was too slow. Of course not. I slid the third tab open and kept my hands steady. This is a draft petition for a voluntary conservatorship, dated 2 weeks before Mom's last hospital stay. It cites episodic confusion and executive function decline. Notes in the margin use your phrases, Tessa. Protective oversight, least restrictive alternative. They're copy-paste from a legal aid website. You never filed it. Maybe you were waiting for the right crisis. I placed the page in the light. Where did you get this? Tessa didn't answer. The room narrowed around her silence like a lens focusing. The youngest suit swallowed. The oldest reached for his glass and didn't drink. Mason stared at the paper. His voice came out thin. Tessa, it was an idea, she said at last. Your mother needed structure. Nora was overwhelmed. We all could see that. Mom could cook while arguing politics, I said. She beat me at Scrabble 2 days before the hospital. She asked me to email her hairdresser. She had good days and bad. She did not ask you to run her life. I was trying to keep her safe, Tessa said. There are predators, financial abuse, elder scams. You've heard the stories. I have, I said. I'm looking at one. She flinched. The suits pulled back an inch. Julian tapped the recorder again, a gentle reminder that the red light was still watching. Tessa, you brought 3 professionals to a birthday dinner to push a document that would place you within reach of family property. That is not how protection looks. That is how coercion looks. Color rose in her neck. You're twisting everything. I'm arranging it in order, he said. Mason pressed his palms to his thighs. I didn't know about any of this, he told me. The words sounded raw. I swear. She said we'd make it fair. She said you were keeping things from me. I showed you every page, I said. You signed. Then you decided you wanted more. His shoulders sagged. For a second, I saw the boy who brought me a dandelion bouquet when I was 15 and too tired to remember my own birthday. Then the man flickered back in the one who wanted an easy elevator to the top of his life. Julian slid a business card across the table. If anyone here believes a crime is being alleged, you can stop now and get counsel. We're not ambushing you. We're setting boundaries. He spoke to the suits without looking at them, which somehow made it land harder. You especially should know better. One of them stood. We were told this would be a simple conversation about family harmony, he said, choosing his words like he was walking across glass. I think we'll leave. Please do, Julian said. They left. The door stayed unlocked. The room felt bigger. Tessa exhaled like a hiss. Mason, are you going to let them insult me? She said. He didn't answer. He kept looking at the draft petition like it was a mirror showing a stranger. I pulled out my phone to silence a buzz and saw a text from Priya, our senior paralegal. Validator, my brain named her with a flash of gratitude. She has a gift for spotting patterns inside chaos. The message was short. FYI, same template showed up in 2 elder cases last year. Names different, language identical. Sender used a free email and changed 1 line each time. I can send you the summaries. Another message popped up from a number I didn't recognize. A photo of a clipboard with a visitor sign-in sheet. The caption read, "You asked if anyone came by." She did. The photo showed today's date and in neat letters, Tessa Vance next to Bayview Retirement Outreach. A nurse I knew, a little Marisol, had forwarded it after I'd texted her earlier asking if anyone had been making the rounds talking about resources. Revealer, my mind supplied. The person who says the one quiet thing no one expects. I set my phone face down. My pulse thudded in my throat. Tessa, I said. Why were you at Bayview today? She didn't blink this time. Community work, she said. I run workshops on end-of-life planning. People need to hear the hard truths. You charge them, Julian asked. They donate, she said, when they can. What do they donate to? He asked. To the work, she said. What's the work? I asked. Helping families avoid disasters. Her words were ironed smooth. No creases. I looked at Mason. She's practiced, I said. She's done this before. Tessa's chair scraped back. She stood with a metallic smile. This is pointless. You're not listening. You've always had a martyr complex, Nora. You hoard responsibility like it makes you holy. Julian's eyebrows nudged up. Projection, he murmured, almost kindly. Tessa ignored him. She snapped the envelope shut and tucked it under her arm. We'll proceed without your blessing, she said. There are other ways, like petitioning to question the will I asked. Her eyes flashed. A giveaway, then she smoothed it. If it comes to that, it won't go well, Julian said. The will is solid. The witnesses are clean. So is the medical record. And we have your behavior documented. He nodded at the recorder. Tonight isn't vanishing. Tessa's smile dropped. You think you can embarrass me into backing down? I think sunlight makes mold move, I said. She glanced at Mason. Are you coming? He stared at his hands. I need a minute, he said. She stared at him as if she could will him taller. Then she turned and walked to the door. She didn't slam it. She didn't need to. The silence after she left made its own kind of noise. Mason's voice broke it. I messed up, he said. I believed what was easiest. I nodded. I didn't rescue him. What you do next is what will matter. He wiped his face with his sleeve. What do I do? Start by not lying to yourself, Julian said gently. Then call the venues. Cancel anything in your name you can't pay for without stealing from your sister. Mason nodded once. A real one, okay. We sat like that for a while, the three of us, with the recorder ticking red between us like a small heartbeat. When we finally stood, the sky had gone dark. I walked Mason to the elevator. On the sidewalk, the basil smell from downstairs rose again, green and clean. My phone buzzed one more time. Priya again. Also, there's a reception planned at the Meridian on Saturday. Guess who booked it? Paid the deposit with a card linked to a family trust. She included a screenshot. Applicant T. Vance. Trustee M. Hale. My throat went cold. Meridian wasn't cheap. A reception meant a stage, a microphone, an audience who believed they had come to celebrate love. I looked at Julian. He was already reading the same message on his phone. His eyes met mine. Calm, certain. If she wants a stage, he said, we'll bring light. I nodded. I thought of my mother's note, trust yourself. You always know when something isn't right. I did. And if Saturday was where the turn had to happen, then Saturday would be where I turned it. Let's get ready, I said. And we did. We spent Thursday making lists. Priya took the whiteboard and drew a clean timeline. Dates, names, places, Bayview Retirement, Harbor Bank, Meridian Hotel. Every time she added a dot, she tied it to a document or a voice. No gossip, only proof. The funny thing is, she said capping a marker when people reuse tricks, they also reuse phrases. She pointed to the draft petition. Protective oversight, least restrictive alternative. She's not a lawyer, she's memorized a song. Julian stacked exhibits into slim folders. One set for the hotel manager, one set for the MC, one set for Mason. Each had a cover page that said in plain print, "This is why we are speaking." No italics, no theatrics. He believes in neat fonts and strong verbs. My job was calls. I returned Mr. Rios's voicemail and asked him to write what he'd told me in his own words. He dictated slowly. I typed. He ended with, Celeste was sharp, kind. Nobody needed to come ask me if she was okay. She told me herself. I read it back. He said, that's it, then cleared his throat and hung up. I called Marisol. She was on break in a narrow hallway. I could hear beeping. She came twice, Marisol said, introduced herself as a facilitator, asked which residents had no local family, said she had brochures to lighten the load. I didn't like it. Will you write that, I asked. I already did. A soft laugh. Check your email. I did. Her statement was there. Simple, steady. Priya dug into the donations. It took her an hour to find the shell names. Not 1, 3, ClearPath Guides, Harbor Family Solutions, Everkind Planning, all used the same stock photos. All had the same returns address at a rented mailbox. That mailbox had 3 other names on the door. One of them was a version of Tessa's last name with an extra letter. Sloppy. Julian called Meridian. He asked for the events manager and requested 10 minutes before the program. Not to cause a scene, he said, to prevent one. He summarized the facts without adjectives. Then he emailed the packet. He did not threaten, he offered context. The manager, a woman named Lacey, called me back. Her voice was careful. We can't approve public accusations, she said. We can't be a courtroom. I don't want a courtroom, I said. I want the truth on record before anyone spends a night celebrating something that isn't real. Silence. Then I read the petition draft. It made my stomach hurt. Another pause. We can give you 2 minutes to speak. No recordings played without our legal sign-off. That's fine, Julian said from his chair, motioning for the phone. I put it on speaker. We'll stick to documents. 2 minutes isn't long, Lacey said. It's enough to open a door, I said. That night, Mason texted I canceled the band. Kept the deposit on the room to avoid losing everything. I'll cover it with my job, I swear. Then if I pull the plug now, she'll spin it. Can we do this in the light? Yes, I wrote. Stand by me on stage, say only what's true. He didn't answer for an hour. When he did, it was one word. Okay. Friday morning, I drove to Mom's house. I unlocked the door and let the familiar creak speak first. The air still held the faint perfume of cedar from her closet. Light came in like it always had, angled through the lace curtains onto the kitchen table she'd sanded herself. I made tea I didn't drink and opened the drawer where she kept the important things. Manuals, keys, tape measure. At the back sat a small tin I knew from childhood. It had once held butter cookies. Now it held folded receipts and a note tied with red thread. For Nora, it said on the outside. I sat at the table, untied it, and read, Sweetheart, if someone tries to tell you I'm confused, tell them I raised you. Ask them who they raised. You know the sound of my voice when it's real. Don't let anyone speak for me who never listened to me. See, I pressed the paper to my chest, then I tucked it into my folder under statements. Not as law, as weight. Priya sent a new email at noon. Subject pattern match. Body found 2 families who met Tessa at workshops. One declined to talk. One sent a single line, we almost signed. She pushed. We backed out. The sender asked not to be quoted. I didn't push. Not everyone wants their fight public. Julianne printed name tags with rolls. It was corny. It helped. Validator Priya. Anchor Julian. Revealer Marisol. Innocent Zoe. I didn't get a tag. He stuck a post-it on my folder that said voice. In the afternoon, a courier arrived at the office with a letter on embossed paper. Cease and desist, it read in polite threat language. It accused me of defamation. It warned of tortious interference with a celebratory event. It was signed by a different law firm than the 3 suits. A downtown letterhead. Stiff. Julian smiled without humor. They blinked, he said. He dictated a reply. We will speak in facts. We will not speculate. We will not disrupt. Any further communication can be directed to counsel. He sent it and turned off his email. I picked up Zoe from school and told her we might go to a grown-up party for a little while tomorrow. She said, will there be cake? I said, probably. She said, can I wear sparkles? I said, absolutely. I needed her joy in the room like a lamp. Friday night, Mason called. I heard a TV in the background and the dry sound of someone packing in a hurry. She's calm, he said hollowly. That scares me. She thinks she's still ahead, I said. People who think the script belongs to them don't imagine other endings. He exhaled like he was learning how. What if I freeze? You won't, I said. If you can't talk, stand beside me. That's enough. I slept in scraps and woke with Mom's old line in my head, when you can't see far, follow the next line on the road. Saturday was bright and cold. We dressed in quiet. At the Meridian's glass and gold ballroom bulbs hung like stars. Servers looped with trays, and Tessa glowed in ivory, hugging donors and parting groups with a practiced smile. She looked through me. Lacey, the manager, gave us 2 minutes before toasts. No recordings, side mic. I stepped out. I'm Nora, Celeste's daughter. I laid out the facts. Someone asked neighbors if Mom was confused, asked the bank about adding an assistant, and drafted a guardianship petition dated 2 weeks before her last hospital stay. I set the draft on the lectern. Coercion, dressed as care, isn't family. Mason shook, then said, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Tessa floated up with a lawyer's letter. False, malicious, actionable, she read. Lacey cut in, facts only. So I stacked facts, signed neighbor notes. The bank log declining the assistant. Priya's binder of 3 charity sites with the same typo and P.O. box. Julian's quiet line, cease and desists, are leverage, not proof. Lacey noted the venue contract listed a non-existent family trust. Mason confirmed it. An RN stood and said Tessa had visited her facility hunting no family elders with forms. A guest named Camille added she'd donated through Tessa's link. The receipt said Everkind. Her follow-up email bounced. The room shifted. Tessa tried to end it. Mason wouldn't leave with her. Lacey paused the event. Tessa walked out. Mason canceled the program. Julian covered the balance and set a repayment plan. A cruiser came and left. At dawn, Tessa filed ex parte to suspend me as trustee. We answered with dates, names, and documents. In court, she had no physician declarations, no bank affidavits, just volume. Petition denied, orders issued, an OSC on sanctions set. The fake trust card was frozen. The websites went dark. Restitution and fees followed. We held a small memorial, changed the locks labeled shelves, and kept our proof. No victory lap, just a line held. Ask for evidence, protect the vulnerable, let paper carry the day. Boundaries did the healing, sunlight did the rest.